Good morning, everyone. I would like to start by showing you a video. It's a short video, it's less than 1 minute.
Killed at least 6 children and sickened more than 300,000 others. The poisoning came to light last year. Officials say the men and others watered down infant formula with an industrial chemical as a way to increase profits. China itself came under criticism by some.
I will this is the agenda for today. I will make a brief introduction of global closure systems. Also, I will introduce some cases of food safety incidents and the consequences. I will talk of some international food safety standards. Then, what are the main elements of food safety standards? And some of the examples of what we have done in GCS Asia Pacific. So, Global Closure System, we are one of the biggest packaging closures and packaging companies, and we specialize in plastic closures. We have 25 production sites in 12 countries, 2 in North America, with several here in Europe and 4 in Asia. Our turnover is almost $1 billion, and we have 3,500 employees worldwide. We have 6 brands, and we have a broad product range, from beverage to food, household and industry, personal care, and pharma. Our brands are, we have 6 brands. Astra specializes in pharmaceutical closures. Bender specializes in beverage closures. Massmold specializes in wide mouth closures for coffee, for example. Obrist also in plastic closures for beverage. UCP is also for pharmaceutical and household, and Cellular Plastic is hinge closures. And this is one of our customers, as you will see, you will recognize many of them. So, some cases of food safety incidents. I don't know if you might remember this case. It was of Perrier. Some traces of benzene were found in 1990, and since then the company started to make losses, and it has been very difficult to recover sales. Also here there's a case of someone found an object, urine injection inside their vinegar bottle. So it looks like someone may have put it as an act. So here, food safety starts from the design. So we shouldn't, or we should avoid the tampering of the product. Here we have the ASEAN Food Safety Network. This is a very good website. I recommend you to go into it. They have information of, and they can guide you on what would be the specific standards on your country. And another good website is the FSA, the European Food Safety Authority. This is very good. It has a lot of information, so I recommend this too, so you can look. And then the international food safety standards are the BRC, which is British Retail Consumption, ISO 22000, HACCP, which is Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points, International Food Standard, and the Codex Alimentarius. So why us? Because we, in the packaging industry, we are part of the food chain. The food safety management is very relevant in Asia because in Asia we have even more manual handling, like for example they have in Europe, where everything is automated because the labor cost is expensive. So, and there are 2 microorganisms that are could be even lethal for the human. And these 2 microorganisms come from human beings. We all need to think as consumers. This is food safety is very important for us, and it can damage the whole industry, even if it's not our own company who is responsible for it. So when we act or we produce, I just ask you to think as you are the one who will be consuming that, huh? Or your baby. Thank you.
You mentioned in your presentation about the use of plants, like tapioca and corn for the bioplastics, and obviously for the agricultural community it's great business, like for biofuels and bioplastics, and this raises the value of the crops as being converted into fuel. But at the same time, a lot of people are arguing the land being used for the farming is actually taking away essential food supply to consumers. So how do you actually counter that argument, saying the plant extract is being used for packaging is actually good for the environment, but it's taking away essential, basic necessities like food supplies to some of the most needed consumers around the world?
My experience, and it's not a lot of experience, but I think that this argument is used, there's a lot of arguments flying around, and you have to be able to separate the real arguments from the arguments that are being used to discredit who might be a competitor. So I think when you look at that big picture, we're only 0.25% of what we actually are producing in plastics is available to us right now, and then look at having to increase it 400 times. Yeah, I think that would be a big issue with deforestation and food supply. But from what I'm reading and through my research, I think this issue comes up more as a regional issue. It depends on where the product is being manufactured, how much land is being used, and again, from a sustainability standpoint, do they then, if they're growing crops, for instance, tapioca in Thailand or whatever, that's now going to be taken out of the food supply, does that mean that crops need to be shipped in, which is not great for sustainability? So I think presently, because it's such a small amount, it has to be looked at on a region by region or case to case basis in order to have a compelling enough argument.
At what point does a converter like you decide that you're taking on too much responsibility for food safety? Because at some point it has to be the filler or the brand owner's responsibility to make sure that what goes out onto the market is safe.
Yes, you're right. But the whole food chain has to be responsible. So we are responsible that our resin suppliers or the resins that we buy, the master batch that we buy, comply with FDA. For example, we make plastic closures that go directly with beverage, with water. So this, if it's contaminated, will contaminate the water directly. So we ensure that our process is food safe, complies with food safety standards, and then the filler or the food processor, he also has to ensure that his supplier, so us, comply with food safety standards, and he has to comply as well. So it's the whole food chain has to comply with the food safety. So if there's a problem in the market, and of course there's always investigation, so it could be, is it contamination from the closure, or if it's from the resin, or it will always, well, not always, but most of the time, know which is the source of this contamination or food poisoning.
It's okay. This is exactly like the basic.
Perhaps a more maybe your friend.
See, we
Okay,
we actually.
If they're interested, I'll mention your company to them.
No, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
Before I go into my presentation today, I just want to give you a little bit of background about Candian. A lot of you might not have heard of this company. We are a private company. We were founded in the UK about 40 years ago, still going very strong today and growing around the world. We primarily research and provide consulting for the beverage and allied industry. So what we mean by allied is basically people working within the upstream and downstream. So we work with packaging companies, we work with PET resin companies, materials, ingredients and so forth as well. But increasingly we've also started to do other categories like ice cream, confectionery and food service, because these were natural progression of what our clients want, and they're already involved in these industries for a number of decades. Around the world we have around 140 people, and since we are so focused on beverages, and by far in terms of turnover and number of clients, we are the largest research company and consulting company for beverages. Across Asia, I joined 10 years ago with just myself. I was the only one trying to really build up the whole region. And since the last decade, I've been working very closely with the clients and the team. We've actually built up to a nice, sizable team of about 30 plus people around the region. And we have our regional office based in Hong Kong. We have offices based in Beijing and Shanghai. And across the rest of the region, we have teams of full-time consultants based in each country as well. The way we look at the markets, we research each of the categories. We talk with brand owners. A lot of it is face-to-face interviews with the industry. So we talk to brand owners, we talk to manufacturers, packaging, material, ingredients, to really cross-check and validate what's happening. And ultimately what we do is to provide a total market picture and also our own independent view of what's happening in the market. And the categories we primarily research, we look at sports, isotonic drinks, energy drinks, bulk home office delivery water, which is a 19-litre carboy water, juice, which is 100%, nectars, 25 to 99%, still drinks, which is anything between 0 to 25%, and this is actually quite a wide category in Asia, because this includes a lot of Asian beverages like herbal tea, chrysanthemum drinks, and so forth. Bottled water, carbonated soft drinks, syrups and powders, RTD tea, coffee, beer, so basically anything that is packaged and that's in a liquid form or powder form that you add water, we track. And just to give you a glimpse of some of the clients we work with in Asia, I mean, as Ashley mentioned, we work very closely with Coke and Pepsi, the Reds and the Blues, but also we work very closely with a lot of the leading local and regional companies. So we work with a lot of Japanese companies, Suntory, Kirin on the manufacturer side. On the packaging side, we work with Toyo Seikan. Here in Southeast Asia, we work with Bunrad, we work with F&N, we work with Thai Bev. Indonesia, we work with Rexo, which is the largest RTD company locally. So it's a very wide range of companies, both from an international and from a local client base. So what I want to do today is to take you initially at a macro level to look at what's happening in Asia in terms of consumption volumes and per cap usage versus the rest of the world, and how we see the market evolving over the next 10 years. And then what we'll do is actually to look at the packaging mix in terms of what package volumes and what package mix is being used across the key beverage categories. And after I go through the macro indicators and numbers, what I want to do is to go through some of the learnings and some of the key issues we see from the industry, and talking to our clients, talking to the trade, what we see are the vital signs that will impact the packaging and the supply industry. Malaysia, local products like Tongkat Ali becoming increasingly popular in RTD format. Korea, you get products like corn husk tea, which is actually not made from the corn itself, but from the husk outside. Japan, they keep on coming up with these weird and wonderful innovations. So this is like a crossover beverage between a juice and an alcohol. So this is actually Asahi and Kokome, two of the leading brands. So actually it's a tomato juice flavored alcoholic beverage. And then in Thailand and Southeast Asia, increasingly you're seeing the association
linked with health and also beauty. So you're getting a lot of products like detox, health, probiotics, collagen, coenzyme Q10, you name it. There's any kind of functional ingredients they go mad for. Right, I just want to present a picture around the world. 10 years ago, currently what's happening today, and 10 years from now. I mean, this is a very encouraging sign. I think what's quite scary is that China, by far, is going to overtake and outstrip what the US is doing. So we reckon at this rate of growth, we just can't see that growth stopping. China will just basically dominate beverage consumption around the world for all categories, for dairy, for soft drinks, for beer, and all types of drinks. But basically, China will be the center of the #1 market in the world by far. But what you also see is, I think, China will be leveraging the rest of the Asian region, like Indonesia, Thailand, Indochina. A lot of those markets will benefit from that economic development, and China will continue to drive a lot of the trade. If you look at the opportunities there, and I think this is great, this is really optimistic for the whole industry. Despite the global crisis last year and still carrying over this year, still a lot of uncertainty, Asia is actually very optimistic at the moment. And a lot of the companies I speak to around Europe, North America, and also within Asia, even Japanese companies say, no, the future has to be Asia. They're pouring so much investment, they're looking to expand new plants, new facilities, the future. So I think it's great news for the industry, especially for you as a suppliers to these FMCG companies. This represents a lot of opportunities. What's quite interesting, if you look at, we did this as comparison for actually Coke and Pepsi initially, but actually we thought this was very useful, so we want to share this with you. Actually, if you look back 10 years ago, the share of the top 10 brands around the world, the volume and the share within Asia is very small. So if you look at these top 10 brands, essentially it came from within 2 or 3 companies. It was mainly Coke and Pepsi plus 1 or 2 other companies in the States. So the top 10 brands were all dominated from one country alone. And Asia represented a very small share in terms of volume consumption. Across still drinks, similar story. Once again, PET, very popular with 10% juice drink. So around the region, consistently, you see Minute Maid pulpy to 10% products from Coca-Cola. A lot of this is driving the growth around the region. So very similar proposition. So it's very much the PET-based product. Across beer, very different story, very not unusual. Glass bottles still dominating. Unlike in Europe, we're seeing PET is actually now driving more and more of the sales in Eastern Europe, places like Russia and certain parts of Western Europe. So, but in Asia, the only country really using PET is South Korea at the moment. So they are the only ones that really adopted. In China, a number of companies have entered into the market, have really tried to push PET with the brewers, but because of the cost, because of the storage and transportation problems, it's been very difficult to develop that market so far. In China, well, I had a discussion with some of the delegates over lunch talking about copycats and fake products, and this is a classic case in China. Spot and know, look at the picture on the right to know which one is the real Red Bull. Both of them are using the same names, even the same characters in Chinese, and it's like pure infringement of copyrights, but this is China. And we were mentioning during lunchtime, you can get fake eggs in China now. Even the eggshells are fake. So nothing is impossible. Sorry to borrow the Adidas pun. And across the dairy drinks market in China, I think this is quite an interesting development. We've seen companies trying to do added value products, so obviously they want to increase the profitability. And what we're seeing the last 3 or 4 years, companies are converting more and more of the products into PET and plastic. So they want to deliberately position themselves away from a traditional dairy drink, like a white milk or flavored milk. So if you go to a retail outlet or any outlets in China, you will see these drinks actually not positioned within dairy. So very often you will see a lot of Tetra Pak, Tetra Brick cartons all across the cross-section of the aisles of the supermarkets. But these products, they deliberately position them next to the soft drinks products and command a much higher price points. And we see this as a major trend developing across Asia. So I think we're already talking to some of the leading companies, and already we are aware there are plans to push these types of products across the region. So I think as an industry, I think you need to anticipate what your clients are developing and what they're doing in the region. This is quite interesting. I was actually in Bangkok a couple of days ago. This is actually taken yesterday across the SkyTrain on my way to see one of our clients. And actually, companies actually using packaging as part of the promotion, as part to run competition marketing. And this is actually Pepsi Tropicana Twister running competition on the SkyTrain. Actually, participants actually buying the products and getting the labels, actually getting the shrink film wrap, getting off, and actually writing the details, enter into the price draw. So actually, beverage companies are using this as part of the marketing mechanism. What we've heard, I think this morning, I think Ashley mentioned a theme throughout this conference, is, I think from a supply point of view, is moving towards the environment issues. I think this is at the heart of all industries and consumers at the moment. And this is quite interesting. This was actually a survey done by the University of Hong Kong, actually jointly done with Coca-Cola just a couple of months ago, and actually responded and asked people about their views on environmental protection. And you can see the majority of people agree that it is important, it is part of their responsibility. But only 20% says they feel they're doing something about it. And the reason why is a lot of people said